Hello and welcome to this continuing First Look exploring session looking at Satiromastix, or The Untrussing of the Humorous Poet by Thomas Dekker, with possibly other hands as well, depending on your point of view. We are only 3 scenes into the play. We've sort of got into the basic potential plot. There may be more plots to come. A sort of A and a B plot have emerged thus far, but there's all sorts of questions about how to perform this text and what is its tone and what is the text trying to do and what do you do with a text like this today, because so much of it is rooted in what was happening literally that month, in terms of general slanging matches during the wars of the theatres. But anyway, we're going to see what the middle of the play gives us as we go from scene 4 to scene 8. Reading today of the said scenes, reading Minever, King, Dicache, and Boy is...
Alexandra, still accompanied by a choir of drills and such like.
Excellent. Reading Horace, Demetrius, and Petula is...
Lois, my double glazing is preventing you from hearing all the construction noise out on the street.
Reading Asinius and Flash is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in the southeast of England.
Reading Sir Quintilian Blunt and Philocalia is...
Aliki, Chapple in the north of England, occasionally interrupted by cats.
Reading Sir Adam, Crispinus, and Celestine is...
Hello, I'm Lynn Freitas. I am in the chilly and rainy northwestern United States.
And reading Tucca is...
Alan, based in Suffolk.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions. I may also be reading some parts. We are awaiting, hopefully, an additional reader, but if they are unavailable, then I will be reading Sir Vaughan and Terrill. But we shall see what we shall see. Without further ado, however, we're going to dive into scene 4. We return to the what we might call the B-plot. Enter Horace in his true attire, Asinius bearing his cloak.
If you fly out, Ningle, here's your cloak. I think it rains too.
Hide my shoulders in't.
Troth. So that's need, for now thou art in thy P and Q. Thou hast such a villainous broad back that I warrant thou art able to bear away any man's jest in England.
It's well, sir, I have strength to bear yours, methinks. For God, you're grown a piece of a critic since you fell into my hands. Ah, little rogue, your wit has picked up her crumbs pretty and well.
Yes, faith, I find my wit at the mending hand, Ningle. Troth, I do not think but to proceed poetaster next commencement, if I have my grace perfectly. Every one that confer with me now stop their nose in merriment, and swear I smell somewhat of Horace. One calls me Horace's ape, another Horace's beagle, and such poetical names it passes. I was but at barber's last day, and when he was rinsing my face, did but cry out, Fellow, thou makest me connive too long. And says he, Master Asinius Bubo, you have Ian Horace's words, as right as if he had spit them into your mouth.
Well, away, dear Asinius. Deliver this letter to the young gallant Druso, he that fell so strongly in love with me yesternight.
It's a sweet muscod, a pure spiced gull. By this feather I pity his ingenuities, but hast writ all this since, Ningle? I know thou hast a good running head, and thou listest.
For come, your great-bellied wit must long for everything, too. Why, you rook, I have a set of letters ready starched to my hands, which to any fresh-suited gallant that but newly enters his name into my roll, I send the next morning, ere his 10 o'clock dream has riz from him, only with clapping my hand to it, that my novice shall start, oh, and his hair stand on end when he sees the sudden flash of my writing. What, you pretty diminutive rogue, we must have false fires to amaze these spangled babies, these true heirs of Master Justice Shallow.
I would always have thee saucer full thus.
No way, stay. Here be epigrams upon Tucca. Divulge these among the gallants. As for Crispinus, that Crispin ass, and Fannius, his play dresser, who, to make the muses believe their subjects' ears were starved and that there was a dearth of poesy, cut an innocent Moor in the middle to serve him in twice, and when he had done, made Paul's work of it. As for those twins, these poet apes, their mimic tricks shall serve with mirth to feast our muse, whilst their own starve.
Well, Ningle, I'll trudge. But where's the rendezvous?
Well thought of. Mary, at Sir Vaughan's lodging, the Welsh knight. I have composed a love letter for the gallant's worship to his Rosamond the second, Mistress Minever, because she does not think so soundly of his lame English as he could wish. I gulled his knightship here to his face, yet have given charge to his winking understanding not to perceive it. Nay, God so. Away, dear Bubo.
I am gone.
And indeed, exit Bubo.
The muses' birds, the bees, were hived and fled, us in our cradle thereby prophesying, that we to learned ears should sweetly sing, but to the vulgar and adulterate brain should loathe to prostitute our virgin strain. No, our sharp pen shall keep the world in awe. Horace, thy poesy, wormwood wreaths shall wear. We hunt not for men's loves, but for their fear.
And exit. So yes, just as we sort of tune back into the play after the other day, Horace is he's incorrigible, isn't he? He's just there was an intervention. Don't write nasty things about people. Oh no, he's so got some more stuff to come out here. He's clearly going for it. Lois.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that opening stage direction. Enter Horace in his true attire. Does that mean he's actually wearing clothes that would be recognized as Ben Jonson's?
Or it may serve a plot function because there is all sorts of questions about wearing other things later on as well. So, or they were mentioning satin suits earlier. So there might be a connection. It might be. There might be additional clues on that, but that might be that. There might be there are interesting possibilities there. But yes, possibly. Dressed as a giant brick. I don't know. Enters dressed as a trowel. Ben Jonson, bricklayer. Anyway, just. For those other thoughts from the room, Lynn.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what scholars say about the Roman clef, the how much Horace is supposed to represent Johnson, but Johnson was purportedly just huge, especially towards the end of his life. He had to have a special chair made because he was enormous. So maybe that the villainous broad back, maybe that's another reference to his physical appearance.
Yes, I don't think he's overweight at this stage. He's just big. He's a well-built man. I think that's definitely right. Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, Lynn and Rob, because I always think of Johnson as his portrait, and I always assumed that he stayed like that throughout his whole life, but he obviously didn't.
Yes, his portrait, which is otherwise known as Tom Baker with a beard. It's a terrible crime that he was not commissioned to be in a thing as Ben Jonson, 30 years ago. It was history judges the past. Anyway, other thoughts. In a sense, it's a sort of reiteration of where we were earlier, just reminding us sort of in sort of that progression. Not a lot has changed per se. It's setting up some things, throwing in a few more theatrical things, references. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, later on, you hear a lot about the School of Ben, and lots of people kind of gathered around him in taverns. This suggests that something like that was already going on. I mean, that he had young people following him, and that he was, sucking up to them, or getting them on his side in rather illegitimate ways. And possibly there was something slightly odd about the whole relationship. I mean, there are all sorts of hints in here.
Yeah, and it builds into that whole literary world. When you think of modern literary spats between, more the authors of great novels, they're not unknown to have little soiree kind of groups and factions. So that all sort of fits in. Which pub are they drinking at, and which tavern do they frequent? Is there a circle? Anyway, we've possibly dug into that enough. Let us go back into other plot strands. I'm going to ask Alan for the moment. Could I ask you to read Sir Vaughan? You at the moment won't talk to yourself. You might if we're still needing you towards the end of the session, but I think that's the best conjunction. So, scene 5, enter Sir Adam and Minever.
Oh, Sir Adam Prickshaft, you are the bow hand wide, a long yard, I assure you, and as for suitors, truly they all go down with me. They all have one flat answer.
All widow. Not all. Let Sir Adam be your first man still.
Enter Sir Quintilian.
Widow, heart stolen from table. Aye, Sir Adam. Are you my rival? Well, fly fair. Your best. The king's exceeding merry at the banquet. He makes the bride blush with his merry words that run into her ears. Oh, he's a wanton. Yet I dare trust her. Had he 20 tongues, and every tongue a style of majesty. Now, widow, let me tell thee in thine ear, I love thee, widow, by this ring. Nay, wear it.
I'll come in no rings, party. I'll take no gold.
Hearken thine ear, take me. I am no gold.
Enter Sir Vaughan and Peter Flash.
Master Peter Flash will grope about Sir Quintilian for his terminations touching and considering you.
I thank your worship, for I have as good a stomach to your worship as a man could wish.
I hope in God Almighty shall fill your stomach, Master Peter. Oh, 2 upon 1, gentlemen. Mistress Minever, much good do it. You, Sir Adam.
Sir Vaughan, have you dined well, Sir Vaughan?
As good cheer as would make any hungry man, and I were in the vilest prison in the world, eat and he had any stomach. One word to Quintilian in hugger mugger. Here is a gentleman of yours, Master Peter Flash, is desirous to have his blue coat pulled over his ears and...
No, sir, my petition runs thus, that your worship would thrust me out of doors, and that I may follow Sir Vaughan.
Tell you, Master Flash, when you follow me, I go very fast. Thinking my conscience, I'm one of the lightest knights in England.
It's no matter, sir. The Flashes have ever been known to be quick and light enough.
Sir Vaughan, he shall follow you, he shall dog you, good Sir Vaughan.
Enter Horace walking.
Why then, Peter Flash, I will set you my 4 marks a year and a blue coat upon you.
God a mercy to your worship. I hope ye shall never repent for me.
You bear the face of an honest man, for you blush passing well, Peter. I will quench the flame out of your name, and you shall be christened Peter Salamander.
The name's too good for me. I thank your worship.
Are you come, Master Horace? You sent me the copy of your letters, countenance, and I did write and read it. Your wits truly have done very valiantly. 'Tis a good indictment. You're put in enough for her, are you not?
According to my instructions.
'Tis passing well. Pray, Master Horace, walk a little beside yourself. I will turn upon you incontinent.
What gentleman is this in the Mandilion? A soldier?
No, though he has a very bad face for a soldier, yet he has a desperate wit as ever any scholar went to cuffs for. 'Tis a gentleman poet. He has made rhymes called the Laminians of Master Bridegroom on our widow.
Is this he? Welcome, sir. Your name? Oh, pray you walk not so stately, but be acquainted with me boldly. Your name, sir?
Quintus Horatius Flaccus.
Good Master Flappus. Welcome.
He walks up and down.
Mistress Minever, when I in your corner here, I desire you to break my arms here and read this paper. You shall feel my minds and affections in it, at full and at large.
I'll receive no love libels, Purdy, but by word of mouth.
My Asinius, 'tis no libel, but here's my hand to it.
I'll have no hand in it, Sir Vaughan. I'll not deal with you.
I then, widow, I'll tell you by word of mouth my devices.
Your devices come not near my mouth, Sir Vaughan, Purdy. I was upon a time in the way to marriage, but now I am turned to the other side. I have sworn to lead a single and simple life.
He has answered you, Sir Vaughan.
'Tis true, but at wrong weapons. Sir Adam, will you be an ass, Mistress Minever?
If I be, you shall not ride me.
A simple life. My Shakespeare, 'tis the life of a fool. A simple life.
How now, Sir Vaughan?
My brains has a very fine qualm come under it. Therefore, Sir Adam and Sir Quintilian and Mistress Minever, caps, goodbye.
Good Sir Vaughan.
Sir
Vaughan.
Master Horace, your inventions do her no good in the universities. Yet here is 2 shillings for your wits. Nay, by Shakespeare, you shall take it if it were more. Yonder bold Adams, he's put my nose from his joint. But Adam, I will be even to you. This is my cogitations. I will indict the ladies and Minever caps to a dinner of plums, and I shall desire you, Master Horace, to speak or rail. You can rail, I hope, in God Almighty.
You mean to speak bitterly?
Right, to speak bitterly upon boldness or thinness of hair. You shall eat down plums to sweeten your mouth, and here is a good answer to defend you. Peter Salamander, follow me.
With hue and cry, and you will, sir.
Come, Master Horace, I will go to pull out the ladies.
And I'll set out my wits. Baldness, the theme. My words shall flow high in a silver stream.
And we can infer the exit of Horace and Sir Vaughan. And we'll just briefly pause there because, yeah, it's quite opaque, some of that. I mean, the general shape is sort of clear enough, but the detail is really quite difficult to unpick some of the time. And, because we've got Minever is being wooed by various people, and then they encounter Horace and they chat to him for a bit, and it sort of flows between the two. Lois and Alan.
Yeah, I noticed the phrase "break my arms," which sounds probably meant to sound funny, but I think what it is that this is a document that's been sealed and has his coat of arms on the seal, so that she's going to have to break it in order to read it. I wondered about this, the stage direction that talk about Horace walking up and down. Clearly, Ben Jonson must have had a kind of rolling walk or, something quite distinctive. Otherwise, there'd be no point in mentioning this.
Well, I think that he walks up and down. I'm assuming that others join him as he does the walking up and down, because the sort of focus of the scene shifts to Sir Vaughan and Minever. So it might be that they're actually walking with him. Enter Horace walking is the oddest stage direction, as opposed to in his flying car. I don't know what, on a unicycle,
dragging himself along the floor.
Yeah.
I
think we generally take walking for granted. I mean, if they're running, that's you need to have the stage direction.
Yeah.
But walking, I think we'll take that. But anyway, yeah, I think you're right. There is something specifically going on there that we don't precisely know what it is.
And someone does say something about don't be so stately. I mean, I don't know if he's acting as if he's lost in a poetic fog and doesn't want to be bothered, but there's something that they have to tell him to snap out of it anyway.
Yes. Alan?
Yeah, I'm not sure Sir Vaughan actually knows what he's saying either. He does seem to have an overdose of words, not necessarily making much sense. And the fact that he's in this sort of weird semi-cod Welsh on rare occasions makes it bloody difficult to follow.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, it's not that. It's just that weirded enough for it to slightly slip off the sense of what the hell's going on. Lynn.
Yeah, I think there's another joke going on here about like what kind of poet or what kind of person is Horace exactly. His little exit verse at the end of scene 3, he says, "To the vulgar and adulterate brain should loathe to prostitute our virgin strain. We don't care if people love us as long as they fear us. I'm a determined social critic. I don't care what people think." But he's also he's also a pen for hire. He also writes love poetry for 2 shillings, and now he's going to write a satire on baldness because Trevon's going to pay him. So it's like, do you have personal integrity or don't you? You know, like that. Like I'm not going to prostitute myself. Oh, 2 shillings for love poetry? I can do that. Okay.
Yeah. Other thoughts before we rejoin the scene? It's a long scene. I thought we just needed a little bit of air just to re-equalise our balance. Okay, we'll go back into it then. So Horace and Sir Vaughan looks like they've exited, which is a good thing because currently Sir Vaughan is being read by the same person as Tucca, who enters now. Enter Tucca brushing off the crumbs.
Where's my most costly and sumptuous short hose?
Is the king risen from table, Captain Tucca?
Now, risen? No, my noble Quintilian. Kings are greater men than we knights and cavaliers, and therefore must eat more than lesser persons. God have mercy, good Dives, for these crumbs. Oh, now, has not Friar Tuck dined yet? He falls so hard that to that oyster pie yonder.
Oyster pie, Captain. He loves her, and I love her, and fear both shall go without her.
Just love her, my finest and first part of the mirror of knighthood. Hang her, she looks like a bottle of ale when the cork flies out and the ale foams in mouth. She looks at my good button breech like the sign of Capricorn, or like Tyburn when it's covered with snow.
All's one for that. She has a visored in a bag will make her look like an angel. I would I had her, upon condition I gave thee this chain, manly Tucca.
Aye, sayest thou so, Friskin? I have her at the hip for some causes. I can sound her. She'll come at my beck.
Would I could sound her too, noble commander.
Thou shalt do it. That lady at the lake is thine, Sir Tristram. Lend me thy chain, do. Lend it. I'll make her take it as a token. I'll link her unto thee, and thou shalt wear her glove in thy worshipful hat, like to a leather brooch. Nay, and now mistrust us my collar, be tied in still.
Mistrust, Captain? No, here it is. Give it her if she take it, or wear it thyself if she'll take me. Watch him well enough, too.
No more. I'll shoot away yonder prick shaft, and then belabour her, and fly you after yonder cuckoo. Dost hear me, my noble goldfinch?
No more.
How dost thou, my smug bell imperia? How dost thou? Hands off, my little bold Derrick. Hands off. Hark hither, Susanna. Beware of these 2 wicked elders. Shall I speak well or ill of thee?
Nay, e'en as you please, Captain. It shall be at your choice.
Why, well said, my nimble short hose.
I hear her.
Art angry, Father Time? Art angry because I took Mother Winter aside? I'll hold my life thou art struck with Cupid's bird bolt, my little prick shaft. Dost love that Mother Mumblecrust, dost thou? Just long for that whim-wham.
Would I were as sure to lie with her as to love her.
Have I found thee, my learned dunce? Have I found thee? By might and my will, thou shouldst not put thy spoon into that bumble broth, for indeed I'll taste it myself. No, thou shouldst not. Yet, if her beauty blind thee, she's thine. I can do it. Thou heardst the saying now. It should be at my choice.
She did so. Work the match, and I'll bestow...
Not a silk point upon me, little Adam. She shall be thy Eve, for less than an apple. But send, be wise, send her some token. She's greedy, she shall take it. Do, send, thou shalt stick in a prick shaft, but send.
Here's a purse of gold. Think you that will be accepted?
Go to, it shall be accepted, and 'twere but silver, when the flea-bitten short-hose steps hence, vanish too, and let me alone with my Granham in Gutter Lane there, and this purse of gold do. Let me alone.
Oh, the king! Oh, God's Lord, I do forget the king. Widow, think on my words. I must be gone to wait his rising. I'll return anon.
Stay, Sir Quintilian, I'll be a waiter too.
Widow, we'll trust that captain there with you.
And exits Sir Quin and probably Sir Adam.
Now, Mother Bunch, how dost thou? What, dost frown, Queen Guinevere? Dost wrinkle? What makes this pair of shuttlecocks here? What do they fumble for? I'll have none of these kites fluttering about thy carcass, for thou shalt be my West Indies, and none but trim Tucca shall discover thee.
Discover me, discover what thou canst of me.
What I can. Thou knowest what I can discover, but wilt not lay thee open to the world.
Lay me open to the world?
No, I will not, my mouldy, decayed Charing Cross, I will not.
Hang thee, patch paddle, I am none of thy Charing Cross. I scorn to be crossed to such a scab as thou makest thyself.
No, 'tis thou makes me so, my long Meg. A Westminster, thou breed'st a scab, thou.
Aye, damn thee, filthy captain, damn thyself.
My little devil of Dowgate, I'll damn thee. Thou knowest my meaning. I'll damn thee up. My wide mouth at Bishopsgate.
Would I might once come to that damning.
Why, thou shalt, my sweet Dame Annis, clear thou shalt, for I'll drown myself in thee. Aye, for thy love, I'll sink, aye, for thee.
So thou wilt, I warrant, in thy abominable sins. Lord, Lord, how many filthy words hast thou to answer for?
Name one, Madge Owlet, name one. I'll answer for none. My words shall be forthcoming at all times, and shall answer for themselves. My nimble Catamountain, they shall Cicely bum trinket, for I'll give thee none but sugar candy words. I will not, puss, goody tripe wife, I will not.
My script ran away. Would thou shouldst well know? Is that where we are?
Why dost call me?
Why dost call me such horrible ungodly names then?
I'll name thee no more, Mother Redcap, upon pain of death. If thou wilt grill Malkin, maggot a pie, I will not.
Would thou shouldst well know, I am no maggot, but a mere gentlewoman born.
I know thou art a gentle, and I'll nibble at thee. Thou shalt be my cap of maintenance, and I'll carry my naked sword before thee, my reverend Lady Lettuce Cap.
Thou shalt carry no naked swords before me to fright me, thou...
Go to, let not thy tongue play so hard at hot cockles, for, Gamma Girton, I mean to be thy needle. I love thee, because thy teeth stand like the arches under London Bridge, but thou'lt not turn satyr and bite thy husband. No, come, my little cub, do not scorn me because I go in stag, in buff. Here's velvet too. Thou seest I'm worth thus much in bare velvet.
I scorn thee not I.
I know thou dost not. Thou shalt see that I should march with 200 or 300 links before me. Look here, what? I could show gold too, if that would tempt thee, but I will not make myself a goldsmith's stall. I scorn to go chained, my lady, for the hospital. I do. Yet I will and must be chained to thee.
To me? Why, Master Captain, you know that I have my choice of 3 or 4 pair of knights, and therefore small reason to fly out, I know not how, in a man of war.
A man of war? Come, thou knowest not what a worshipful vocation it is to be a captain's wife. 3 or 4 pair of knights? Why, dost hear, Joan of Bedlam? I'll enter into bond to be dubbed by what day thou wilt. When the next action is laid upon me, thou shalt be ladyfied.
You know, I am offered that by half a dozen.
Thou shalt, little Minever, thou shalt. I'll have this frock turned into a footcloth, and thou shalt be carted, drawn, I mean, coached. Thou shalt ride jigger-jogger. Hood shall flap up and down here, and the sheepskin cap shall be put on.
Nay, buddy, I'll put off my cap for no man's pleasure.
Would thou be proud, little Lucifer? Well, thou shalt go how thou wilt, maid Marian. Come, bust thy little Antony now, my clean Cleopatra. So, go thy way, Alexis Secrets. Thou'st a breath as sweet as a rose that grows by the bear garden, as sweet as the proudest head of garlic in England. Come, we'll march in to the gentlefolks.
Nay, truly, Captain, you shall be my leader.
But I say, Mary Ambery, thou shalt march foremost, because I'll mark how broad thou art in the heels.
Purdy, I will be set at the last for this time.
Why then come, we'll walk arm in arm, as though we were leading one another to Newgate.
Enter Blunt, Crispinus, and Demetrius with papers, laughing.
Mine's of a fashion cut quite from yours.
Mine has the sharpest tooth. Ooh, yonder he is.
Captain Tucca?
All hold up their papers.
Now, I cannot stand to read supplications now.
They're bitter epigrams composed on you by Horace.
And dispersed among the gallants in several copies by Asinius Bubo.
By that live eel. Read. Lechateau. Read thou, Jack.
Tucca's grown monstrous. How? Rich? That I fear. He's to be seen for money everywhere.
Why, true. Shall I not get in my debts? Nay, and the rogue, right, no better, I care not. Farewell, Black Jack, farewell.
But Captain, here's a nettle.
Sting me, do.
Tucca's exceeding tall, yet not high. He fights with skill, but does most vilely lie.
Right, for here I lie now, open, to make my adversary come on. And then, sir, here am I in his bosom. Nay, and this be the worst, I shall hug the poor honest face-maker. I'll love the little atheist when he writes after my commendation. Another whip. Come, yerk me.
Tucca will bite. How? Grown satirical? No, he bites tables, for he feeds on all.
The horse and cloven-footed devil in man's apparel lies. There stood above 40 dishes before me today that I ne'er touched, because they were empty.
I am witness, young gentleman, to that.
Farewell, stinkers. I smell thy meaning screech owl. I do, though, I stop my nose, and, sirrah poet, will have thee untrust for this. Come, mother mum pudding, come.
And exuent question mark as to whether this scene effectively lies into the other. I suppose it depends on which playing company, because of course if it's an indoor boys company play, then there might be an interval which might save us questions about how this scene alides into the next scene, which could be complicated. Thou shalt ride jigger-jog, joggy there. Sting Me Do, one of those alternative Beatles albums that never quite came to fruition. It just seems that almost there was just a game there of how many generic past character names from plays you can squeeze in there. And the fact that we managed to actually detect most of them from texts, Cicely Bum Trinket, with obviously Gamma Gurton, I mean to be thy needle, bum, bum. So yeah, it just seems to be that's the game, isn't it? Just squeeze as many in as you can. Long mega Westminster, sadly not extant. So yeah, all sorts of references in there, probably even more than. And it almost seems that the entire scene is just a game of how many references can you squeeze into one diatribe by one character. So yeah, an interesting wooing technique there, shall we say? Lynn, and then Lois, and then Aliki.
It reminds me a little of an acting exercise that they give undergraduates, where you have a dialogue that's basically kind of neutral in tone, and your job is to interpret it in different ways, create characters. What's actually going on here? Is there subtext? Is there no subtext? So it's like, what is the subtext here? Is he really flirting, or is he really kind of doesn't like her and is insulting her deliberately? And is she responding to his flirtation in a positive way, or is she just trying to keep him at arm's length? Is this a confrontation, or is this flirtation? Both, neither. So I just think you would need to take this and just workshop the heck out of it to make this scene clear, to make the intentions clear.
Well, I think there's an element we'll need to get further into the play to know actually how this scene landed in terms of how people interact with it. I mean, it was always the joke of Tucca was always that he basically walks on and just goes, "Hello, bastards." He just basically walks on and insults everyone in a sort of jovial way. And it's like every single time he opens his mouth to address Minever, it's a new insult every single time. And I say what his intention and the response of Minever is up for grabs there. Lois than Aliki.
Yeah, but he is a sort of con man, isn't he? I mean, I take it that he's got money or valuable objects from the various suitors to Minever.
Which he has no intention of passing on to her.
Exactly, yeah. And he's promised to speak for them. And instead of doing that, of course, he slanders them and then tries to apparently kind of get her to marry him. I mean, Minever, by the look of it, is elderly and badly dressed and wearing some sort of funny cap. But she has a lot of money. I mean, I assume that's what they're all after. So, and in fact, they're all awful. I mean, all the men say, just let me have a word in your ear. He's terrible, marry me. It's and then Tucca's playing the same game. I mean, it's not terribly edifying. And then on come Demetrius and Crispinus with evidence that Horace, who promised in the earlier scene not to keep slandering people, is, of course, still doing it.
Yes, and they come on with their page, very pleased. Look what we found. Awesome. So this is going to go down. Aliki, then Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't really know, and I haven't read the earlier parts of the play, is why are people giving Tucca money? Because he's an obvious scammer. So
it's the ultimate double bluff. Why does anyone ever give money to scammers? I mean, he's not even a very good one, is he? It's like the con artist can be very, very good, and he's just so obvious. But maybe it's the ultimate double bluff. Lynn.
Yeah, I guess in answer to Aliki's question, because it's a play. The other thing I wanted to point out is we still don't. I still don't have an exact beat on what kind of poet Horace is supposed to be. His friends or hangers-on Demetrius and Crispinus are like, we have these epigrams that Horace wrote about you. Listen to this, and they're really kind of ham-fisted. They're not particularly clever. So it's like Horace works really hard, and he thinks of himself as a poet, and he thinks of himself as a kind of gadfly and all of this, but maybe he's not supposed to be very good at what he does.
Yeah, that seems. I mean, to be honest, I still kind of think these poems should be worse because they are only two-liners. They're not great, but again, they're not quite as terrible as I feel they should be. Lois.
Yeah, but they have to be nasty. I mean, to be to have any sort of point to them. They've at least got to be attempting to be nasty. And if they were really bad, that you probably wouldn't even be able to get what they were about. I mean, Johnson did write a lot of stuff like that. I mean, he's got a whole collection of epigrams, and they're not all exactly brilliant anyway. But epigrams from this period never strike one as all that funny, you know, with a few exceptions. And Demetrius and Crispinus aren't exactly his friends. I mean, they were his worst enemies pretty much in the previous play. And here I guess they're sort of pretending to be well-wishers to him, but actually they're delighted to have evidence that he's broken his promise, I think.
Mm. Oh, absolutely. You know, they are shit-stirring quite determinedly there. Any other thoughts before we dive into the next scene? It continues to be a sort of tricksy one to fully get a grip on, isn't it? It's just sort of slightly sliding. You can see what's going on, but it's not quite landing. None of the punches are quite hitting. Okay, anyway, let's see what scene 6 gives us. Trumpets sound a flourish, and then a senate. I don't know the technical difference between the two. Enter King with Celestine, Sir Walter Terrill, Sir Quintilian, Sir Adam Blunt, and other ladies, Dicache, Philocalia, and attendants. Whilst the trumpets sound, the king takes his leave of the bridegroom and Sir Quintilian, and last of the bride.
Who's king?
King? Who's the king?
I'm so sorry, I'm the king. My song of parting doth this burden bear, a kiss the ditty, and I set it here. Your lips are well in tune, strung with delight by this fair bride. Remember, soon at night, Sir Walter.
My liege lord, we all attend the time and place.
Till then, my leave commend.
They bring him to the door. Enter at another door, Sir Vaughan.
There it is. Put a very easy suit upon you all, to desire you to fill your little bellies at a dinner of plums beyond noon. There be suckets and marmalades, and marchants, and other long white plums that fain would kiss your delicate and sweet lips. I indict you all together, and you especially, my lady bride. What do you say for yourselves? For I indict you all.
I thank you, good Sir Vaughan. I will come.
Say, gentlemen, will you stand to me too?
We'll sit
with you, sweet Sir Vaughan.
Sir Vaughan.
God Almighty bless your faces and make your beauties last. When we are all dead and rotten, you all will come.
Actually, nobody's down, but the first lady, whoever that is, says... Someone leap through it.
All will come.
Pray God that Horace be in his right wits to rail now.
And exits a Vaughan.
Come, lady, you shall be my dancing guest to tread the maze upon the music with the rest.
I'll lead you in.
A maze as like a doubt. 'Tis easy to go in, hard to get out.
We'll follow close behind. That measures best. Now none marks us, but we mark all the rest.
Exeunt all, saving Sir Quintilian, Celestine, and Sir Walter Terrill. Father, and you, my bride, that name today, wife, comes not till tomorrow, but omitting this interchange of language, let us think upon the king and knight, and call our spirits to a true reckoning. First, to arm our wits with complete steel of judgment, and our tongues with sound artillery of phrases. Then our bodies must be motions, moving first what we speak, afterwards on our knees most humbly seem to talk and suit our speech. For a true furnished courtier have such force, though his tongue faints, his very legs discourse.
Son Terrill, thou hast drawn his picture right, for he's no full-made courtier, nor well-strung, that hath not every joint stuck with a tongue. Daughter, if ladies say that is the bride, that's she. Gaze thou at none, for all will gaze at thee.
Then, O my father, must I go? O my husband, shall I then go? O myself, will I go?
You must.
You shall.
I will, but give me leave to say I may not, nor I ought not. Say not still I must go. Let me entreat I may not.
You must and shall. I made a deed of gift, and gave my oath unto the king. I swore by thy true constancy.
Then keep that word to swear by. Oh, let me be constant still.
What, shall I cancel faith and break my oath?
If breaking constancy thou break'st them both,
Thy constancy no evil can pursue.
I may be constant still, and yet not true.
As how?
As thus, by violence detained, they may be constant still that are constrained.
Strange, that word weighs heavy, yet my oath weighs down that word. The king's thoughts are at odds, they are not even balanced in his breast. The king may play the man with me, nay more, kings may usurp. My wife's a woman, yet 'tis more than I know yet, that know her, not her. If she should prove mankind, 'twere rare. Fie, see how I lose myself amongst my thoughts, thinking to find myself. My oath, my oath!
I swear another. Let me see by what that. By my long stocking and my narrow skirts, not made to sit upon, she shall to court. I have a trick, a charm, that shall lay down the spirit of lust, and keep thee undeflowered. My husband's honour saved, and the hot king shall have enough to. Come, a trick, a charm.
Exits a Quin.
God keep thy honour safe, my blood from harm.
Come, my sick-minded bride, I'll teach thee how to relish health a little. Taste this thought, that when mine eyes serves love's commission, upon thy beauties I did seize on them to a king's use. Cure all thy grief with this, that his great seal was graven upon this ring, and that I was but steward to a king. Exit all. Yeah, that was darker than one. I mean, we were sort of queued up to it, but we were only half queued up to it last time because we weren't fully queued up to whether we were sure what the king was planning or not was what he was planning. It turns out it was what he was planning, and that becomes quite explicit. I mean, Terrill's dialogue is really, really interesting because it's just constantly broken up, and
It's so opaque.
It's weird. Well, I like it because I think it speaks to the fact that he doesn't really know what to say, that he's trying to justify his actions and find a way of articulating it, and fails in interesting ways. Lynn?
Yeah, I just find that really frustrating that his verse is the meaning is so opaque. It's just like, the plot is really sort of fascinating, and I'm engaged with that. Oh, the king wants me to come to court. We all know what he wants, and I can't go. I mean, I can try, but he might just assault me. That's kind of exciting. And the dad's like, it's okay. I have a magic charm so we can save face. Romance plot device, but I just find it really frustrating that Terrill's language is so hard to parse. A really good actor might be able to overcome that.
Lois?
Yeah, that's really interesting, this bit where he says, the king may play the man with me, nay, more kings may usurp. My wife's a woman, yet 'tis more than I know yet, that know not her. This is clearly know in the sexual sense, isn't it? People sometimes say when they're defending themselves against charges of fornication, I know not whether she be a man or a woman, meaning obviously that they simply haven't found it out in the most obvious way. And but he seems then to be saying if she should prove mankind, 'twere rare. And I don't know whether that means if she should be as constant and heroic as a man, or whether he means if she should just be like the humankind in general, in other words, feeble and corruptible. Anyway, you can see why it's so opaque.
Yeah, and of course, if he's talking about, I haven't just figured out yet whether my wife is a man or a woman or not. Of course, the wife is played by a boy, there is a sort of in-joke quality to that as well, which I think is probably played. Other thoughts?
Yeah,
Alexandra.
I don't, again, as with the previous scene on this subject, I don't think it's necessarily opaque in the sense of difficult to comprehend. I think it's just language that would be subtle in the period, which makes a contrast from the total unsubtlety of some other characters. But I think what's interesting is if people are being subtle not in order to not be understood, but in order to save face by just not naming the name of the thing that they're actually talking about. Because the king does it, and Terrill does it, and I think Celestine as well, earlier, not in this scene. So yeah, there's something, I think there's something potentially really suddenly shifting the mood of the scene if we get Terrill in a position of going, I have to send you because I said I would, and yes, I get what you think is going to happen. I'm terrified of it too, but we can't talk about it because it's the king. Which then puts that last speech of his in the context of the husband who knows he can't tell anyone that he knows that this is all what it's about and very likely to happen. If that makes sense. Not even the audience.
Aliki.
Yeah, I like that because it gives a very human and psychological spin to this really very unpleasant scene of please don't make me go and get raped by the king. Sorry, dear, you have to. From both her new husband and her father, which is just really quite horrible. I know we said it was dark, but really, really quite horrible.
Other thoughts before we move forward? Alexandra.
Yes, on a totally unrelated subject, I find it interesting that there are these stage directions with ladies coming in, and we have very little. We have a first lady that we didn't seem to have assigned, and we have the character named Dicache, pronunciation open to the viewer, who are presumably these two ladies, but they are not named in the dramatis personae, and there's something sort of confusing about that to me, and I don't think it's just in the our edit needs editing. It's their names are very evocative. So they're supposed to mean things, but neither of their names gets referenced in this scene.
Maybe next scene. We shall see. Anyway, we need to move on. We have 2 more scenes to do this session. We're going on to scene 7, a banquet set out. Enter Sir Vaughan, Horace, Asinius, Bubo, Lady Petula, Dicache, there's so many options there. Philocalia, Mistress Minever, and Peter Flash.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're almost all welcome to the sweet nuncheons of plums.
Almost all, Sir Vaughan? To which of us are you so niggardly that you cut her out but a piece of welcome?
My interpretation is that almost all are welcome because I indicted a brace or 2 more than is not come. I'm sorry, my lady Pride is not amongst you.
Late. He makes hounds of us, Ningle. A brace, quotha?
Peter Salamanders, draw out the pictures of all the joint stools, and ladies sit down upon their wooden faces.
I warrant, sir. I'll give every one of them a good stool.
Master Horace, Master Horace, when I pray to God and desire in Hippocrates that bold Sir Adams were here, then begin to make your rails of poverty and beggarly want of air.
Leave it to my judgment.
Master Bubo, sit you there, and you and I will think upon our ends at the tables. Master Horace, put your learned body into the midst of these ladies. So 'tis no matter to speak graces at nuncheons, because we're all past grace since dinner.
Mass, I thank my destiny I'm not past grace, for by this handful of caraways I could never abide to say grace.
Mistress Minever, is not that innocent gentleman a kind of fool? Why do you ask, madam? Nay, for no harm, as because I thought you two had been of an acquaintance. I think he's within an inch of a fool. Madam Philocalia, you sit next that spare gentleman. Would you heard what Mistress Minever says of you?
Why, what says she, Madame Dicache?
Nay, nothing, but wishes you were married to that small-timbered gallant.
Oh, your wish and mine are twins. I wish so too, for then I should be sure to lead a merry life.
Yes, faith, lady, I'd make you laugh. My bolts now, and then should be soon shot. By these comfits, we'd let all slide.
Oh, he takes the sweetest oaths that ever I heard a gallant of his pitch to swear. By these comfits and these caraways, I warrant it does him good to swear.
Yes, faith, 'tis meat and drink to me. I'm glad, Lady Petula, by this apple, that they please you.
Peter Salamanders, wine, I beseech you. Master Asinius Bubo, not to swear so deeply, for there comes no fruit of your oaths. Here, ladies, I put you all in one corners together. You shall all drink of one cup.
Peter, I prithee, fill me out too. I fling you out too, and I might have my will, a pox of all fools.
Mistress Minever, pray be lusty. Would Sir Adam's prickshaft stuck by you?
Who, the bald knight, Sir Vaughan?
The same, Master Horace. He that has but a remnant of parcel of hair. His crown is clipped and pared away. Methinks 'tis an excellent quality to be bold. For there stuck a nose and two knives in his pate. He might even wear two faces under one hood.
As God save me, la, if I might have my will, I'd rather be a bald gentleman than a hairy. For I am sure the best and tallest yeomen in England have bald heads. Methinks hair is a scurvy, lousy commodity.
Bubo, herein you blaze your ignorance.
Pray stop and fill your mouths and give Master Horace all your ears.
For if of all the body's parts the head be the most royal, if discourse, wit, judgment, and all our understanding faculties sit there in their high court of parliament, enacting laws to sway this humorous world, this little isle of man, needs must that crown which stands upon this supreme head be fair and held invaluable, and that crown's the hair. The head that wants this honor stands awry, is bare in name and in authority.
He means bold plates, Mistress Minivers.
Hair, 'tis the robe which curious nature weaves to hang upon the head, and does adorn our bodies in the first hour we are born. God does bestow that garment. When we die, that like a soft and silken canopy is still spread over us. In spite of death, our hair grows in our grave, and that alone looks fresh when all our other beauty's gone. The excellence of hair in this shines clear, that the four elements take pride to wear the fashion of it. When fire most bright does burn, the flames to golden locks do strive to turn. When her lascivious arms the water hurls, about the shore's waist her sleek head she curls, and roared clouds being sucked into the air, when down they melt, hang like fine silver hair. You see the earth, whose head so oft is shorn, frighted to feel her locks so rudely torn, stands with her hair on end, and thus afraid turns every hair to a green naked blade. Besides, When, struck with grief, we long to die, we spoil that most which most does beautify. We rend this hair tire off. I thus conclude, colors set colors out. Our eyes judge right of vice or virtue by their opposite. So, if fair hair to beauty adds such grace, baldness must needs be ugly, vile, and base.
True, Master Horace, for a bold reason. It's a reason that has no hairs upon it, a scurvy, scalded reason.
By my truly, I never thought you could have picked such strange things out of hair before.
Nay, my ningle can tickle it when he comes to it.
Troth, I shall never be enamoured of a bare-headed man for this, what shift soever I make.
Then, Mistress Minever, Sir Adam Prickshaft has not hit you. Peter, take up all the cloths at the table, and the plums.
At which point this fascinating disputation is interrupted by the arrival of Tucca and his boy, and where we have a clash. So I'm going to ask Lynn, can you take over Sir Vaughan at this particular moment? And Alan returns to being Tucca. So enter at this point Tucca and his boy.
Say thee, my little worshipful harper, how do ye, me little cracknels? How do ye?
Welcome, Master Tucca. Sit and shoot into your belly some sugar pellets.
No, God a mercy, Cadwallader. How do ye, Horace?
Thanks, good captain.
Where's the searing thou carriest about thee? Oh, I've found thee, thy scouring stick. What's my name, Boobo?
Would I were hanged if I call you any names but Captain and Tucca.
No, Fast, my name's Hamlet, Revenge. Thou hast been at Paris Garden, hast not?
Oh, yes, captain, I have played Zuzaman there.
Then, Master Horace, you played the part of an honest man.
Death of Hercules. He could never play that part well in his life. No, faults you could not. Thou callest Demetrius journeyman poet, but thou putst up a supplication to be a poor journeyman player. That's been so still, but thou couldst not set a good face upon it. Thou hast forgot how thou amblest in leather pilch by a play wagon in the highway, and tookst mad Geronimo's part to get service among the mimics. And when the staggeries banished thee into the Isle of Dogs, thou turnest bandog, villainous guy, and ever since bitest. Therefore I ask if thou hast been at Paris Garden, because thou hast such a good mouth, thou baitest well. Read, Leger, save thyself and read.
Why, captain, these are epigrams composed upon you.
Go not out, farthing candle, go not out. But trusty damn boys, now the deed is done, I'll pledge this epigram in wine. I'll swallow it. Aye, yes.
God bless us. Will he be drunk with nittigrams now?
So now arise, sprite of the buttery, no herringbone. I'll not pull thee out. But arise, dear Echo, rise. Rise, devil, or I'll conjure thee up.
Ooh, Widow Minever.
Alexandra?
I'm lost.
Good Master Tucca?
Good Master Tucca, let's have no conjuring here.
What is blood you scald, gouty captain? Why come you to set encumbrances here between the ladies?
Be not so tart, my precious Metheglin. Be not, my old whore Babylon. Sit fast.
Jeez you if I know whereabouts in London Babylon stands.
Feed and be fat, my fair Calipolis. Stir not my beauteous wriggle tails. I'll disease none of ye. I'll take none of ye up, but only this table man. I must enter him into some filthy sink point. I must.
Captain, you do me wrong thus to disgrace me.
Thou thinkest thou mayst be as saucy with me as my buff jerkin. to sit upon me, dost?
Damn me, if ever I traduced your name, what imputation can you charge me with?
Splud I, what computations can you lay to his charge? Answer by Shesu, or I'll canvass your coxcomb, Tucca.
If they draw, sweethearts, let us shift for ourselves.
My noble swaggerer, I will not fall out with thee. I cannot, my mad comrade, find it in my heart to shed thy blood.
Comrade, by Shesu, call me comrade again, and I'll comrade ye about the shins and shoulders. Bounds, what come you to smell out here? Did you not dine and feed horribly well today at dinner? And you come to munch here and give us winter plums. I pray, depart. Go, march out of doors.
Adieu, Sir Eglamour. Adieu, lute string, curtain rod, goose quill. Here, give that full-nosed stinker those rhymes. And hark, I'll tag my codpiece point with thy legs. Spout pot, I'll empty thee.
You threaten me? God's lead, I'll bind thee to the good forbearing.
Will you amble, hobby horse? Will you trot and amble?
Raw artichokes, I shall sauce thee.
I pray you, Master Tucca, will you send me the £5 you borrowed on me? Oh, you cannot hear now, but I'll make you hear me and feel me too in another place. To your shame, I warrant you. Thou shalt not conny catch me for £5. He took it up, Sir Vaughan, in your name. He swore you sent for it to Mum withal. 'Twas £5 in gold, as white as my kerchief.
Bones, £5 in my name to Mum about withal.
Aye, to Mum withal, but he plays Mum budget with me.
Peter Salamander, tie up your great and your little sword by Shesu. I'll go sing him a while till's hot. I'll beat £5 out of his leather pilch. Master Horace, let your wits inhabit in your right places. If I fall handsomely upon the widow, I have some cousins, Garmin at court, shall beget you the reversions of the master of the king's revels, or else be his lord of misrule now at Christmas. Come, ladies, horse and straggling captain, I'll pound him.
Exeunt. Remaining on stage, Horace and Asinius.
How now? What ailst thou that thou lookst so pale?
Nay, nothing. But I am afraid the Welsh knight has given me nothing but purging, comfits. This captain sticks pockily in my mouth. Read this scroll. He says they are rhymes and bid me give them you.
Rhymes? 'Tis a challenge sent to you.
To me?
He says here you divulged my epigrams.
And for that dares he challenge me?
You see he dares, but dare you answer him?
I dare answer his challenge by word of mouth or by writing, but I scorn to meet him. I hope he and I are not parallels.
Dear Bubo, thou shalt answer him. Our credits lie pawned upon thy resolution. Thy valor must redeem them. Charge thy spirits to wait more close and near. I'll wait more, surely it must be. I'll wait more close and near thee. If he kill thee, I'll not survive. Into one lottery we'll cast our fates. Together live and die.
Content, I owe God a death, and if he will make me pay it against my will, I'll say 'tis hard dealing.
And they exit. So once again, we have the game of Tucker coming on and referencing as many plays as he can. I mean, my God. I mean, it is just, yeah, it feels like just someone had a bet on, wasn't it? How many can you get in? And it's just, there's a counter in the corner just going ding, 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 as it goes along. Many of which, we do know, we know about, and it's a very Ben Jonson reference, Banish Thee into the Isle of Dogs, which is the lost play, because it's lost because it upsets so many people, shut all the theatres down, and generally got people arrested. So it's not so much lost as excised. Followed that sequence following on after Horace's oration on hair. has a bald-headed wig with hair on. Aliki.
Yeah, I mean, I was so engrossed and entertained by the ridiculously dense characterization of speech of two characters in this scene that I have completely missed what actually happened, if anything happened, plot-wise. Can anyone help me out?
Well, plot-wise, the only thing happened is at the very, very end when they're saying they delivered a challenge because you wrote bad stuff. Otherwise, it is mostly just showboating, really. The whole scene is a series of showboating sequences. Alan.
Yeah, that was very much the point. It is very much a showy-offy piece. And I mean, you can just see actors who are just having a whale of a time with this. I'm sure that whoever was doing Tucca was right. It's a nice little challenge here. I'm up for this one.
You are almost all welcome to this sweet nunctions of blonde.
Yes.
There's some lovely turns of phrase in all of it. It's full of lovely turns of phrase, but it just continues to be really opaque all the way through. And I even think that getting it on its feet, a lot of that opaqueness does remain. It is genuinely quite a tricky text to pass. But it's still sort of weirdly enjoying it at times as well. So it's a really interesting series of contradictions. Lynn?
Yeah, all the in jokes, not even Easter eggs because they're not hidden. I mean, they're fun for us, and they would be fun for certain audiences. But the question is, do you leave them in? Do you take them out? The other thing, and I think we observed this yesterday, is that. Yeah, we get the joke. These scenes that are kind of just there to be funny and entertaining and character building, they go on an awful long time. I mean, we get the joke. He's written a big long poem about baldness. Okay, and then it does go on.
That said, I do like the poem about baldness. I have to say that whole thing about hair is a beautiful speach in its own right.
Another thing that just cracked me up in this scene, though, is that, am I wrong? At one point, Horace says, I have epigrams I wrote about you. And later on in the scenes, it's like, I never say anything bad about you.
Yeah. No, I think that he's pretending he doesn't know these epigrams are by him. I mean, some epigrams, huh? Because he's still denying it, isn't he? Yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised actually that thing about hair is so good, because I thought the point was to make Horace look as ridiculous and incompetent as possible. But in fact, as a piece of writing, it's not bad at all.
I have to say, it is looking like it's going to be an episode of the podcast. I think a standalone episode just on this speech, because it's just wonderfully silly and very removable. But I think, Lynn's point earlier was just that there is so much stuff that is not plot-based at all. There is so much stuff in between the plot. And it's like the A-plot is so slenderly touched upon and so tonally different to the rest of the play that I'm sort of wondering, in terms of putting this on, where does your focus lie, and how do you pull it together? Because if you start cutting the B plot, where do you stop? Because actually, there isn't necessarily a lot there that outside of the self-referentialism that's going on there. And if you try and substitute it with other texts, you basically rewrite the whole thing, which is not inherently a bad thing. If you want to do that, that's cool. But I am struggling to pull together a show from these pieces. Other plays that are a bit long and have digressions usually feel like, no, I can pull this into a shape, if not necessarily the author's intended shape. I don't know how to do that yet. We've still got one scene to go. Maybe more clues will appear. But I'll go to Alan, then Lois, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I just wonder whether that lengthy piece about the hair, which was great, or the lack of hair, was actually another level of satire. Yes, he can write verse, but only on the most trivial of subjects.
Yes, it's not that he's a bad poet, it's just he's using his resources in the wrong places, attacking other people and writing stuff that's just not worth the effort, or taking commissions that perhaps he shouldn't, which, to be fair, I don't think Dekker would have a leg to stand on that point.
No, he's quite the fragile glass house he's living in.
Lois, then Alexandra, and then we will definitely move on.
Yeah, I find the shape of the scene a bit odd, actually, because it's clearly building up to this kind of staged thing where Horace is supposed to be reciting his masterpiece about baldness in order to get at Sir Adam Prickshaft on behalf of one of the rival suitors. So he does it. And apparently it has an effect because people are saying, oh God, baldness is terrible. Then Tucca comes in, who's mad about something completely different. And they throw him out. And he seems to be mad at Asinius Bubo, because I suppose he's the one that's been giving out these poems. He doesn't, does he or doesn't he realize that Horace wrote them? I mean, it's not very likely that Asinius wrote them. And then he leaves the challenge for Asinius, and Horace says, oh, by all means, go fight him. As long as it's not me fighting, I'm quite happy to see a fight, and I'll be right there with you, I bet. I just don't quite get it. I mean, it seems that there aren't any obvious consequences from Horace's reading that thing. You'd expect somebody to say something about it. Why isn't it attacked in some way?
Alexandra?
Yeah, I think based on what Alan and Lois were saying just now, it feels as though, like the point I was making yesterday, Horace is coming out of this not that bad. He's sort of, there are traits of his that we're supposed to laugh at, but we're not supposed to laugh at him as a person and necessarily. We're sort of supposed to go, oh, well, he's a nice fellow, but he's got some flaws, hasn't he? Whereas the person who's coming out quite badly out of the play so far is Tucca, who is, both motor mouth in terms of plays, but also a bully, whilst being Horace's patron, a womanizer with respect to Mistress Minever, or at least a negging kind of weirdo about it. And now something of an idiot for not knowing for not putting together who he should be angry with.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities of who Tucca could be. But anyway, we must move on. We got another scene to read. Scene 8. Sir Adam, I'll leave Lynn to be Sir Vaughan as we continue on, because there's another clash. I don't think you're in this scene. I think we can do that. If I'm wrong, hit me.
So I'm Sir Adam.
Sir Vaughan rather than.
Well, I'm Sir Adam normal. I mean, that was my original.
Yeah,
casting.
he exits in a moment.
Okay, so okay, can I get some funny voices going?
Yeah. Oh, you can, but I'd say I don't think you talk to yourself, so I think you're okay. I could be wrong. But anyway, scene 8, enter Sir Adam Tucca with 2 pistols by his sides, his boy laden with swords and bucklers.
Get Apollo's frieze gown, watchman. Boy, just hear the turkey cock's cat tail. Have an eye behind, lest the enemy assault our rearward. On proceed, Father Adam. Did that same tyrannical-tongued ragamuffin Horace turn bold pates out so naked?
He did, and whipped them so with nettles that the widow swore that a bare-headed man should not man her. The lady Petula was there, heard all, and told me this.
Go to. Thy gold was accepted, it was. She shall bring thee into her paradise. She shall, small Adam, she shall.
But how? How, Captain?
Thus, go, cover a table with sweetmeats, let all the gentlewomen, and that same pastoral madcap, Mother B there, nibble. Bid them bite, they will come to gobble down plums, then take up that pair of basket hilts with my commission. I mean Crispinus and Phineas. Charge one of them to take up the bucklers against that hairmonger Horace, and have a bout or two in defence of bold plates. Let them crack every crown that has hair on it. Go, let them lift up boldness to the sky, and thou shalt see 'twill turn Minever's heart white against the hair.
Excellent. Why then, Master Tucca?
Nay, we're nimble Prickshaft, we're away. I go upon life and death. Away! Fly, Scanderbag, fly!
Captain, the foe has come down!
Yes, exit Sir Adams, enters Asinius Bubo and Horace aloof. Tucca offers to shoot.
Hold, Captain Tucca, hold. I am Bubo, and come to answer anything you can lay to my charge.
What, to summon a parley, my little drumstick? 'Tis too late. Thou seest my red flag is hung out. I'll fill thy guts with thine own carrion carcass, and then eat them up instead of sausages.
Use me how you will. I am resolute, for I have made my will.
Wilt fight Turca Tempence? We'll fight then.
Thou shalt find I'll fight in godly quarrel, if I be once fired.
Thou shalt not want fire. I'll have thee burnt when thou wilt, my cold Cornelius. But come, Respice fumum, look, thou seest, open thyself, my little cutler's shop. I challenge thee, thou slender gentleman, at 4 sundry weapons.
Thy challenge was but at one, and I'll answer but one.
Thou shalt answer 2, for thou shalt answer me and my captain.
Well said, cockerel out, crow him. Art hardly noble, Huon, art magnanimous. Lick trencher, look, search lest some lie in ambush, for this man-at-arms has paper in his belly, or some friend in a corner, or else he durst not be so crank.
Captain, Horace, start sneaking there.
I smelt the foul-fisted mortar treader. Come, my most damnable fastidious rascal, I've a suit to both of you.
Oh, hold, most pitiful captain, hold!
Hold, Captain. 'Tis known that Horace is valiant and a man of the sword.
A gentleman or an honest citizen shall not sit in your penny pinch theatres with his squirrel by his side cracking nuts, nor sneak into a tavern with his mermaid, but he shall be satted and epigrammed upon, and his humour must be run on the stage, and you'll have every gentleman in his humour, and every gentleman else on his humour, we that are heads of legions of bands, and fear none but these same shoulder clappers shall fear you, you serpentine rascal.
Honoured Captain.
Art not famous enough yet, my mad Erastus, for killing a player, but thou must eat men alive, thy friends, Sirrah Wildman, thy patrons, thou Anthracobite, thy Asinius.
Captain, I'm sorry that you lay this wrong so close unto your heart. Dear Captain, think I writ out of hot blood, which now being cold, I could be pleased, to please you, to quaff down the poisoned ink in which I dipped your name.
Say'st thou so, my palinodical rhymester?
Henceforth, I'll rather breathe out solecisms, to do which I'd as soon speak blasphemy, than with my tongue or pen to wound your worth. Believe it, noble Captain. If to me, to me shall be a crown, to crown your acts with praise. Out of your hate, your love I'll strongly raise.
I know thou hast a number of these quiddits to bind men to the peace. 'Tis thy fashion to flirt ink in every man's face, and then to crawl into his bosom, and damn thyself to wipe it off again, yet to give out abroad that he was glad to come to composition with thee. I know, Monsieur Machiavel, 'tis one of thy rules, my long-heeled troglodyte. I could make thine ears burn now by dropping into them all those hot oaths to which thyself gavest voluntary fire when thou wast the man in the moon, that thou wouldst ne'er squib out to any new saltpeter jests against honest Tucca, nor those Malago tasters, his poetasters. I could, Cynophilus, but I shall not, yet thou knowest thou hast broke these oaths in print, my excellent infernal.
Captain.
Nay, I smell what breath is to come from thee. Thy answer is that there's no faith to be held with heretics and infidels, and therefore thou swearest on anything. But come, lend me thy hand. Thou and I will henceforth be Alexandra and Lodovic, the Gemini, sworn brothers. Thou shalt be Freitas and Tucca. But I'll leave thee in the lurch when thou makest thy voyage into hell. Till then, thine assuredly.
With all my soul, dear captain.
Thou shoot thy quills at me when my Terrill back's turned for all this. Wilt not porcupine, and bring me and my heliconists into thy dialogues to make us talkly? Would not Lucian?
Captain, if I do...
Nay, and thou dost, horns of Lucifer. The parcel poet shall sewer thy wrangling muse in the court of Parnassus, and never leave hunting her till she plead in forma pauperis. But I hope that's more grace. Come, friends, clap hands, 'tis a bargain. Amiable Bobo, thy fist must walk too. So I love thee. Now I see thou art a little Hercules and will fight. I'll stick thee now in my company like a sprig of rosemary.
Enter Sir Reese at Vaughan and Peter Flash.
Draw, Sir Reese, he's yonder. Shall I upon him?
Upon him? Go to, Peter Salamander. Hold in God's name. I will kill him to his face, because I mean he shall answer for it, being an eyewitness. 1 word, Captain Tucca.
I'll give thee 10,000 words, and thou wilt, my little Thomasius.
By Jesu, 'tis best you give good words too, lest I beat out your tongue and make your word near to be taken more. Do you hear? 5 pounds, 5 pounds, Captain Tucca.
Thou shalt have 5 and 5 and 5, and thou wantest money, my Job.
Leave your fetches and your vagaries, your tough leather jerkins, leave your quandaries and tricks, and draw upon me your best. You coney catch widow Minever caps for 5 pounds, and say 'tis for me to cry mum, and make me run up and down in dishonors and discredits? 'Tis not true. You wink a pipes rascal, it's not true?
Right, true, guilty. I remember it now. But when I spake a good word to the widow for thee, my young Samson...
For 5 pounds, you cheating scab! For 5 pounds, not for me.
For thee, O Caesar, for thee I took up 5 pounds in gold that lay in her lap, and said I'd give it thee as a token from her. I did it but to smell out how she stood affected to thee, to feel her. Aye, and I know what she said. I know how I carried away the gold.
By Jesu, I had not the mercy to fall upon him now. Master Tucca, did widow Minever part quietly from her gold because you lied and said it was for me?
Quietly, in peace, without grumbling, make no noise. I know how I tempted her in thy behalf, my little Trangdo.
Captain Tucca, I will pay back her 5 pound unless you be damned in lies. And hold you, I pray, you pocket up this. By a cross of this sword and dagger, Captain, you shall take it.
Just swear by daggers? Nay, then I'll put more at thy hands than this.
Is the fray done, sir?
Done, Peter. Put up your smeater.
Come hither, my sour-faced poet. Fling away that beard-brush bubo, cashier him, and hark. Night attend. So that raw-head and bloody-boned Sir Adam has feed another brat of those 9 common wenches to defend boldness and to rail against hair. He'll have a fling at thee, my noble cocksparrow.
At me? Will he fling the cudgels of his wit at me?
Aye, and at thy button cap too. But come, I'll be your leader. You shall stand. Hear all and not be seen. Cast off that blue coat. Away with that flawn and follow. Come.
Exit Tucca.
Bubo, we follow Captain.
Peter, leave coming behind me, I pray, any longer, for you and I must part, Peter.
Sound, sir. I hope you will not serve me so, to turn me away in this case.
Turn you into a fool's coat. I mean, I will go soulless, or in solitaries alone. Boons, you are best give better words, or I'll turn you away indeed. Where is Captain Tucca? Come, Horace. Get you home, Peter.
I'll home to your cost, and I can get into the wine cellar.
Exit.
Remember where to meet me.
Yes, I'll meet. Tucca should have found I dare meet.
And exit Asinius.
Dare defend baldness, which our conquering muse has beaten down so flat. Well, we will go and see what weapons their weak wits do bring. If sharp, we'll spread a large and nobler wing. Tucca, here lies thy peace. War roars again. My sword shall never cut thee, but my pen.
Exit Horace, who just doesn't learn, does he? Just doesn't learn after all that altercation. Once again, we have the huge wall of words coming from Tucca and others to a degree. That's just flowing and just going. And yeah, it's very easy to get quite lost in that. Because all sorts of references potentially going on in all of that. So yeah, this is the duel. I do like the stage directions. Horace aloof, so it's like Horace is Asinius, you go and fight. Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll definitely back you up. And then Tucca just pulls him back. So I wonder whether actually Tucca's just been very clever here by pretending to invite Asinius to the duel on the idea that he can then go for Horace. Because if he actually invited Horace, would Horace have turned up? I don't think the text actually properly supports that, but I'm just thinking about that as an option. Because I love the way the boy also goes, Captain Horace stands sneaking here. Love the sneaky boy. The boy's good. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling that Asinius was challenged because he's obviously smaller, weedier, probably not as competent, whereas Horace is described as being potentially reasonably fit.
Well, he's certainly large. So he looks menacing in that sense, I suppose. Lois.
Yeah, and it's difficult with Horace. I mean, Horace has Johnson. I mean, Johnson has been a soldier, in fact, and has killed somebody in a duel. So it's a bit difficult to make him look as cowardly as he behaves in this scene.
Yeah, there is a certain amount of, it's this question about satire, about exaggerating real things. But this does seem like it's actually ill-founded, just slander. Actually, it's not even satire. It doesn't seem to necessarily match the person as we know them. Though, of course, who knows what he was actually like in the context of war. Other thoughts about this scene? Again, it just feels like Tucca just comes on and just speaks, and then it's like there's an impetus that the scene sort of is happening, but it also isn't. And it's so weird. Lois?
Yeah, I mean, there's some lines that are clearly giving you information about Johnson. I mean, every gentleman in his humor, every gentleman out of his humor, and even this, that nobody can just go to the theater without finding himself satirized. I found it really interesting that at one point he refers to somebody as damn boys, because that must be Bussy d'Amboise, but that play hadn't been written yet, at least not the version by George Chapman. Which I think dates from a couple of years later. So I'm wondering, is there an earlier play or what? The reference to Herostratus is interesting because that was the man, I think, who burned down the temple of Diana in Ephesus because he wanted to be famous. And didn't care how he was famous. So it's just sort of a suggestion that Johnson is out for fame at all costs.
Yes, that's that thing. What is X famous for? Just doing something ridiculously stupid. And again, there's still these really nice lines, and there's potential, but it is just really, huge amount of stuff in there. We are approaching extra time, so I'll ask the question of the room. We've done 2/3 of the play. Do we know what we're doing with it yet? Because I at the moment, I'm kind of thinking that there are 2 plays and they don't meet.
They have not yet.
There is a court drama that has nothing really to do with the rest of the play. That is possibly a detachable very short play. It's like when we did Grim the Collier of Croydon, where there was the very short Grim the Collier play, which is about half an hour long and was delightful, and then there was the other play, which we were less keen on, but almost just about saved itself at the end. Almost with some adjustments. Whereas this is sort of almost the reverse, though the great wealth of material that we're getting from the B plot, it's just, what do you do with that? This is quite a three-pipe problem. I don't have an answer. I'll go around the room for any final thoughts. It doesn't have to be, just random thoughts or just thoughts. Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just briefly. Like in the last session, I was like, okay, we haven't had enough play to get into it yet. To get into like what's going on, what's happening. Whereas now we've definitely had enough play to know what's going on. But I am more lost than I've ever been in any other play we have ever done. I'm just like, okay, there's been a duel. Okay, there's actually been a duel. It's like, but I'm still not sure why there's been a duel. Exactly who is dueling and what's going to happen to them. And then so at one point, everyone just ran off. People just ran off stage. And I was like, okay, this play is funny because I think I was just like, okay, it's taking the piss. It really is. It's supposed to be like this. It's like, it's humorous and it's like laughing at the construction of plays, and it's laughing at plots and how plots I think apparently the plot in Poetaster doesn't work. And I just think it is funny, especially the ball jokes. When Horace came on and just was like, dare defend baldness, I just cracked up. I was just like, oh yes, let's bring that back again. So I think the ways in which it doesn't work are intentional, and it's a bit like that play that goes wrong. So the things that go wrong are supposed to. So I'm enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, yes, the B plot is actually very, very simple. Horace is throwing shade everywhere, and someone wants to fight him to tell him not to, and everyone keeps telling you not to, and he keeps coming back. The cat came back the very next day. They thought he was a goner. And so in a sense, it's very simple, but there's just so much stuff. I mean, some of those references, you could do something where you could do to the right crowd who would get a lot of the references, but there are so many references that we don't get as well. I mean, that you could cut it back into something. I mean, I think the room was actually genuinely delighted when we got to the every man in his humour, every man out of his humour reference, because we're all going, yeah, we've done those. We did them a few weeks ago, and it did sort of land as a gag, but just the pure wall of words, this tsunami of Tucca coming flying at you. It's just so much of it. Lynn, any final thoughts? Yeah. Lynn?
Oh, yeah. Oh, kind of a lot. I mean, yeah, the ball thing is sort of funny, but it would really be a lot funnier to men, I think. Someone did a survey once, and like 60% of the male respondents said they'd rather be impotent than bald. I mean, really, like, men are so like weird about their hair, and like you ask straight women and they go, Patrick Stewart. To women, it's like why do you care? You know, I think most women are like, what makes a man attractive is kind of what he does with that. It's like baldness is not a big thing for us, or some of us find it attractive, and then it's just like, oh God, anything but that. So, you know, I think you're like, half your audience is going to be, what, this is funny. But anyway, but what I was thinking earlier, completely changing gears, is like, I'm actually really kind of interested in the A plot, because this head of state behaving badly is a thing. We had it way back in Edward IV, Jane Shore. We had a couple of iterations of that. And then there's a period of time where it tends to sort of fall off the radar, unless it's alive in the ballad tradition, which I don't know. And then there's another little flurry of that with like Women Beware Women and Revenger's Tragedy and The White Devil, which are all about 10 years after this. So I'm just sort of interested in that theme of the head of state as a sexual predator and how problematic that is, and how that keeps coming up at various intervals. I bet somebody's written on this. If I went to JSTOR, I bet I could find something. But that just sort of, I'm not sure what to make of it, but that interests me, that this is a theme that comes up in the drama kind of repeatedly. And it seems to be particularly interesting about 10 years from now.
Just on the question of the nature of baldness, I do believe that someone has done assessments on earnings, and the more hair you have, potentially, I think there is actually a genuine thing that there is a connection,
correlation,
whether it's just a coincidence or something to do with internal self-esteem thing, but it's it may have, even if we think of it as absurd, it may have real world consequences. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering actually whether Tucca is another level of satire against Johnson. The wall of words, which we've commented on, the fact that, I mean, I think the reaction we've had to just about every Johnson piece we've done is, shame that the blue pencil hasn't been invented.
And I think that's a good point, is you shouldn't assume that satire is actually linear. You can use several different characters to attack the same person in the same text. And of course, there might be other figures who we're just not aware of within this room, or we're just being very quiet about, that this figure may fit, but within the context of what we've previously read, like in Poetaster, etc., nothing is immediately leaping out. But there could be something in that, that actually there are multiple Ben Johnsons within the text. That Ben Jonson is being attacked by himself is an interesting existential problem. There's that might be a thing. Also might not. Who knows? Aliki, any final thoughts? You've been thrown in after a session. Where are you at?
Mostly I'm half bewildered and half delighted by the wall of verbiage that landed on top of me. But I'm also slightly distracted by Mrs. Minever. Minever is winter squirrel fur, right? And it's incredibly rare and precious fur, which was only used by the wealthiest and I suppose the most aristocratic. So is courting Mrs. Minever about trying to get the attention of wealthy patrons? Is it even more pointed than that? I don't know. I'm interested in that.
Sounds rude.
There is that as well.
It's like the fever thing.
Yes. If in doubt, suggest that possibly some elements of this text might be a bit rude. I did
say in the chat that I'm reminded of The Naked Gun, and the scene I had in mind is when the woman goes up on the ladder on the archive, and the Leslie Nielsen character climbs up behind her and says, "Nice beaver." And she says, "Oh, thank you," and hands down a stuffed beaver.
Lois, any final thoughts?
I don't know. I don't find it that I'm terribly concerned about who marries Mrs. Minever in the end. I'm sure they're after her for her money, that she doesn't seem to have anything else going for her. And I am sort of interested in what on earth is going to happen to poor Celestine when she gets into the same room with the king. I think the thing about Tucca is that, he was like this in the earlier play, only he's more so in this one. It's what you'd expect, I suppose, writers imitating a character that's been invented by someone else and kind of exaggerating the most obvious thing about him, which is this use of references to all and sundry, and this habit of insulting the person he's talking to in a kind of nonstop way. I don't know. I'm still rather puzzled about the treatment of Horace, because apart from the fact that he just can't stop writing rude things about people, he doesn't seem all that awful so far. And it's not that devastating a critique of him.
And Alexandra, any final thoughts?
Yes, I was going to come up with the original idea that maybe there are different facets of the same person being satirized as separate characters. Also, it's entirely possible that there's a lot. This is something I said yesterday as well, that there's a lot more going on than we know now or would ever be able to know. Like, I feel like a lot of these references would not necessarily be things that were ever written down. what I'm finding, kind of setting all that aside and looking at it just as a play, what I'm finding is that there doesn't seem it started with some really clear kind of delineation of characters. There doesn't seem to be very much in the way of plot, we've established. But the character, it doesn't feel to me as though any of the characters kind of evolve or like there's a very clear point of Horace not developing as a character, not learning from his mistakes. So that's clearly intentional. But also the female characters are written very flatly. The servant characters are very few to non-existent. Whereas in other plays like this, we would still have few women, and they only exist to be courted. But you might have a bit more substance to them, or we would have, a subplot of the hungry servants, and so on. And I think it's possibly a consequence of what and whom this play is lampooning, that it's got a very narrow scope, even though it's alleges to have three different plot lines. And I think that's another thing where we might have difficulty as a modern audience. I still don't know. I was saying yesterday about one of the things that I'm not getting yet is who should I care about and why should I care about these people? Not in the sense of whom should I like, because that's not part of the deal, but more of a question of why should I, the modern audience, give a damn about what's about to happen? Why should I, be interested in what's happening next? And even though things have started happening, and even though the characters are interestingly constructed, that's the thing I'm still missing.
Okay, well, we have one more session to find out where this is going and whether we can construct a better sense of what to do with this. All that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Hands off my little bald Derek.